actually absorb more of the ricinoleic acid if taken orally as opposed to being sort of used topically. The ricinoleic acid sort of interacts with these things. What's going on, guys? It's Jacob, Sunday Lifters. Welcome back to the channel and Happy New Year. It's officially 2022 as of when I'm filming this video. I think I had one come out in 2022, but it was 21 when I filmed it. So Happy New Year, and yeah, welcome back. Let's get straight into today's video. We are going to be talking about castor oil. We're going to sort of cover off what castor oil is, what it's sort of been used for historically in medicine and outside of medicine, and some of its applications in sort of modern day medicine, as well as covering off sort of hair health, which has become a sort of recent topic of castor oil and what initially got me interested in it. So yeah, just on that point, I've been using castor oil for about 6 months now. I used it initially for 3 months topically on my hair, and then I've been using it for the past 3 months, taking 1 milligram a day orally, and I've sort of seen different effects of doing both, which we'll cover off at the end. But first, let's just talk about what castor oil is. If you could just drop this video a like, guys, drop it a comment, subscribe if you're not already, it's all really appreciated. So castor oil is a sort of natural vegetable oil that's obtained through the sort of pressing of castor beans. It was first sort of used, we could sort of date back its use to ancient Egypt, where they would use it essentially as fuel to light their torches and their lanterns. And then later on down the line, the Egyptians sort of used it in medicine and sort of beauty as well. Cleopatra herself actually used to use castor oil because she thought it made the whites in her eye more bright and sort of alluring. So that was where we first initially saw its use. Today, we see it in sort of all sorts of things. You get it in soaps, lubricant, sort of brake fluid, you name it. There's just its use is a sort of almost limitless. It has so many different ones. Castor oil has a sort of very distinct sort of smell and taste. It's not necessarily that strong, but it's very, I've never sort of, there's nothing else like it basically. I can't really compare it to anything. But yeah, I remember when I first started applying it topically, I really didn't like the smell of it. And it's sort of really thick and gloopy liquid. You know, I keep it in the fridge now, and it literally takes you about 40 seconds of shaking just to get the stuff to come out the bottle. It is like 2/3 of the way done, obviously, but it is really thick. But yeah, it's very distinctive, and despite not liking the smell when I started taking it orally, I've actually really grown to like the taste of it. It's really strange. When I first had it, I wasn't a big fan, but I really like it now. So castor oil is probably best well known for the fact that it contains ricinoleic acid. Ricinoleic acid is an 18 carbon mono unsaturated fat that is known for its sort of inflammatory effects that it has in the body. People's main concern with castor oil initially was that it contained ricin, obviously ricinoleic acid, ricin. Ricin is a lectin, which is a carbohydrate binding protein that is a sort of potent toxin found within the seeds of the castor oil plant. An estimated lethal dose of ricin in a human would be about 1 milligram per kilogram of body weight that person weighs. Now that is of ricin specifically, not castor oil. The good thing is about castor oil, ricin is not sort of oil soluble, which means that when it's sort of turned into castor oil, the amount of ricin that actually ends up in the final product is absolutely minuscule. So essentially, if you do decide to take your castor oil orally, you don't need to worry about the sort of potential risks of ricin, because it's, like I say, it's not oil soluble, and in the final product there'll be a tiny amount. As long as you sort of don't do something stupid with the amount of castor oil you take, i.e. the dosage, you'll be absolutely fine. Now, interestingly enough, castor oil actually has a bit of a history of being used as a punishment or even torture in some extreme circumstances, where it be sort of force fed or given to different people throughout history. For example, in the sort of mid 1900s, parents would actually use it as a form of punishment to their children. They'd sort of feed them a lot of castor oil, and that would be the punishment. I'll sort of list off why it would be considered a punishment after I've listed them all, but obviously we also see throughout history the sort of dictator, the Italian dictator Mussolini, his black shirts used to sort of get political dissidents and you know, again, sort of force them to have castor oil. Adolf Hitler would sort of, like, you know, early 1930s when he got elected, sort of mid 1930s probably, he'd actually, well, his men would use this on sort of German Jews basically as a form of torture or punishment. The reason it was used in this way is just because in large amounts it can cause serious sort of gastrointestinal stress and inflammation. It seems to, it might be something to do with the ricin. I don't know for sure, so I'm not going to make that claim, but it probably is. But it causes extreme sort of gastrointestinal distress and, like I say, inflammation in that area, and it can just make sort of like bowel movements very unpleasant. Castor oil has also been used in modern medicine as both a laxative and as a sort of proponent for inducing labour in pregnant women, and that's been the case for several decades, at least since the 90s, maybe a bit before, I'm not too sure. But as a laxative, it tends to be used orally at a dose of about 5 milligrams, maybe a little bit more, and as a sort of proponent for helping induce labour, it's usually at around anything from 60 milligrams upwards. It can be used for that purpose. So they did a survey of midwives in the USA in 1999, and they actually found that I think it was 93% of them admitted to using castor oil to help induce labour. It's actually really effective. I'll be honest, I'm not sure how often it's used in sort of modern day medical settings, but it certainly, like I say, for the past couple of decades, it has been used quite a bit. Let's cover the final sort of component of this, and that's castor oil's efficacy in regard to hair health. Now, the scientific study done in this area as compared to its use as a laxative and as a compound to induce labour is a little bit scant. There is study done, and you can find it if you sort of look, but you do have to dig around a little bit. Like I said earlier, guys, I sort of, well, first off, let me just preface that by saying companies sell this castor oil as a substance to be applied on your hair topically to improve hair health. Now, what we tend to find is, and I found this personally through experimentation of applying it topically and actually taking it orally, and it also seems the data out there also supports this, that taking it orally is preferable to actually applying it on your head like the bottle instructs. They always say apply it topically, but it is better to take it orally, and the reason being because the compound in the castor oil that seems to be hair protective is the ricinoleic acid that we spoke of earlier. You actually absorb more of the ricinoleic acid if taken orally as opposed to being sort of used topically. The ricinoleic acid sort of interacts with these things, and I apologise if I'm pronouncing this wrong, I've tried my best, a prostaglidin. And prostaglidins are basically sort of active lipid compounds found within sort of every tissue within our body. So the ricinoleic acid is going to cause a sort of upregulation in prostaglidin E2, which is PGE2 for short. The PGE2 is going to agonize the EP3 and the EP4 receptors in the scalp, and a downstream effect of this is the antagonization of the prostaglidin D2, which then basically stops the sort of tissue constricting effect of that prostaglidin. So yeah, essentially it's going to stop the sort of follicle oxygen restriction or the hypoxia caused by PGD2. Hopefully that makes sense. So from a more anecdotal perspective, like I say, I was applying it topically for 3 months. Personally, I didn't notice anything significantly different. It didn't seem to make the hair thicker, and it might have sped up the hair growth ever so slightly, accelerated it slightly, but it wasn't noticeable, so I'm not going to even make that claim here. And just so you guys know how I was using it during my morning shower. I'd leave it on for about 4 to 5 minutes and then I'd wash it out. I'm considering maybe doing the experiment again and leaving it on overnight so it's got more time to absorb the ricinoleic acid within. But it's just a pain in the arse basically having to do it like that, because it's honestly, guys, if you buy this stuff, you'll see if you put it in your hair, it's so thick, it makes your hair so greasy and sticky. Like, I don't really want to leave it on overnight. I imagine it'd make a bit of a mess on your pillowcase, but maybe some of you guys have tried it, let me know. Personally, I didn't try it, maybe I will at some point, but on the contrary, taking it orally at 1 milligram per day, which is 1/5 of a teaspoon, I think I have noticed a difference, certainly in regard to hair thickness. Again, I can't say for sure whether it's accelerated the actual growth of the hair. If it has, I've not noticed anything significant, but I do think it's made the hair thicker in the 3 months I've been using it. Not to any sort of major degree, but it definitely, I noticed as I sort of looking in the mirror, that it seemed to sort of like just fill in somewhat. Not straight away, and like I say, over the 3 months, I'm talking sort of back end, you can almost see actually over the sort of course of my videos how it's sort of like, it seems to have thickened up a little bit, and I attribute a lot of that to the castor oil. Not just the castor oil, have implemented other things during the process, one of those being fish oil, which I do consider as part of my hair health stack. But maybe I'll cover in a different video why I consider fish oil part of my hair health stack, because that could be a video in itself. Aside from that, I was using finasteride and minoxidil before I started the castor oil. That's both topically and orally, so luckily it sort of didn't interfere with the sort of 6 month period where I was trialing this. There's loads more anecdotal studies out there, guys. Look into several, don't just take my word for it. But personally, I will be continuing to take castor oil at 1 milligram per day. I haven't noticed sort of any negative side effects to it. I've never had any sort of gastrointestinal issues from taking it. And like I say, I believe I noticed a bit of a difference when I did. Another thing I noticed was that the hair seemed to get a little bit darker, but the thing about that was I was taking it topically in the back end of the summer months, and then I was sort of taking it orally in the winter, and my hair tends to get lighter in the summer anyway, so it could have just been that. Again, I can't say for sure, guys, I'm just sort of giving you what I think. So what's the takeaway from all this? Well, castor oil is a interesting sort of compound in general because it's used for so many different things, and also it's used in sort of medicine, and its effects depending on the sort of dosage you take. Personally, I'm going to keep the sort of 1 milligram of castor oil taken orally in my sort of hair health stack, taking it every day for the foreseeable future. I might do the experiment where I leave it on overnight, apply topically, and see if that sort of holds up, or whether again I don't see any effect, but that'll probably be later on in the year. I've got like quite a lot of other things I want to get through, and aside from that, I'd just say if you do decide to sort of take it orally for your hair health, just be sensible with your dosage, guys. Like I say, I take 1/5 of a teaspoon. I think that's plenty. Anything up to sort of 5 milligrams is probably okay. I don't think you need that much, but 5 milligrams or more is used as a laxative, so unless you're trying to use it for that purpose specifically, with the oversight of a doctor of course, then I wouldn't recommend you go near 5 milligrams. But that's up to you. I'm going to end it here, guys, because I think this is quite a long video. Thank you very much if you stuck with it to the end. If you could just drop this video a like if you haven't already, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and drop a comment for the algorithm. You can follow me on all my socials. It's at Sunday Lifters on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram, and you can email me at sundaylifters for meal plans, workout plans and online coaching. Until next time, guys, see you soon.